That is another reason that I see commonly people that are passionate about real estate not have success in real estate. Even though they very much want to do it, they play it safe. Be happy for other people's success and be fans of people that are successful. All right, everybody, welcome back to the latest episode of Agent Investor. Agent Investor is the only brand that helps real estate agents get off the real estate roller coaster by showing them how to invest in real estate without having to add a bunch of extra hours to your week, without necessarily having any money to start. And we focus on practical strategies that any agent, regardless of where you're at in your real estate career, can implement. My goal is to help agents achieve and earn $100,000 or more per year in passive income over a multi-year plan. And we focus on helping agents fix and flip properties by our partnership program, whereby we put up all the money, we do all the construction, and we split the profits with agents 50-50. The average profit that we split with agents is $80,000. Of course, we've done deals where we've made more, we've done deals where we've made less. To learn more about our agent partnership program, we've done over 100 partner deals with over 100 local agents, local meaning New England. Go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Most of the episodes I am very, very strategic oriented. And for those of you who listen to my podcast on a regular basis, you've probably noticed that I have not recorded a podcast in a little bit. And the reason for that is in the past couple of months, my dad actually passed. My dad was 74 years old. He had a heart attack, unfortunately, was in the hospital for a little bit. And it was definitely a surprising thing. And something that, obviously me and my family are starting the process of recovering from. So I apologize for being, out for a little bit. I was working, but I really didn't have the heart to, get on here and record podcast episodes. But I am back, and we will be back on a weekly basis moving forward. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different, but I think it might actually provide more value in some ways than some of the very tactical episodes that I talk about. Because today's episode is going to focus on more mindset type things. And it's going to focus on the 10 things that my dad taught me that impacted my real estate success. So for those of you who know kind of what me and my partners have done, we've got a few hundred rental units, built in over 400 person real estate brokerage. We fix and flip between 100 and 150 homes per year. And we've done a lot of really good things that I'm very proud of, that my dad was certainly proud of and is proud of. And we did it all from scratch. Okay, so we had no money to start, and we've done some pretty good things. And really, when I think back and I think about, like, what we've been able to do, in a 15-year stretch, how we've been able to impact our family's lives, the lives of other people who we've worked with and helped with, and all that good stuff. It really is a lot less about the strategy than about the mindset. And yes, you have to have the right strategies in order to get any of this stuff done. But what I find more often when I see people that tell me that they want to have success in real estate, whether it's retail sales, whether it's investing, whether it's being an agent investor, combination of the two, etc., is that more often than not, most times that people don't achieve the results that they want for themselves and their family, many times, often, it's not about the fact that they didn't necessarily know the strategies. It has a little bit more to do with the mindset part. And when I look back and I say, well, in a lot of cases, where did I learn the right mindset? Where did I learn the bigger part, part A of all of this stuff before the strategies? A lot of it came from my dad. And so today I'm going to talk about the 10, things that some of it was, verbally taught to me, and some of it was taught to me just from, seeing what he did kind of on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to focus on those 10 things today, some of the lessons that he taught me. And obviously these are going to all be things that can really apply to anybody. They can apply to anybody that's looking to achieve success, whether it's in real estate or not, really, it doesn't necessarily matter. A lot of these are mindset principles that would apply to really, any business or any career. So I'm going to jump right into them. The first thing, number one, that he taught me, probably both verbally and through showing me, is to work hard and make sacrifices in your work. Now, I know that working hard it's a very, very basic kind of concept, but I want to explain, what I saw with him, and also really what it means to a lot of people that are listening. It is very common in life that we all want, big things. We all want big success. But in a lot of cases, unfortunately, many people are unwilling to pay the price necessary in order to get what they want. And there is a big price. Growing up, my dad often, just to kind of get by, would work two or three jobs. He would often work nights and weekends. And my dad, you know, didn't have any big job, didn't make a bunch of money. But what I saw was that there wasn't necessarily an off time where he couldn't work. Um, there would be a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, a lot of extra hours. Depending on the year, he might work, 50 hours a week, he might work 80 hours a week. And what I saw with that, and what I took away from it, and what I ended up implementing in what I do, is that there really is no necessarily excuse not to make something work, right? Um, whether it's working a Friday night, whether it's working a Sunday evening, whether it's working a holiday. And of course, let me be clear about this. The goal is to be able to get back more of your time so that you don't have to do these things. But especially in the beginning, when you're starting in real estate and you're starting in real estate investing and you want to be an agent investor, like whether you even you could have a full time job. And there's very few people that can tell me that they don't have a few hours a day to focus on the agent investors type stuff. So I saw at an early age that there was really no excuse. There was no day that you couldn't work. There was no night that you couldn't work. All, of course, again, to build to the point where you don't have to do that anymore. So again, to be clear, like hard work doesn't just mean, showing up and working hard for the 30 hours or the 35 hours or the 40 hours. It oftentimes it means sacrifice, going above and beyond, and giving up some stuff, giving up going to that party, going out with your friends, in order to actually get to that big goal, right? All right. So the second thing that my dad taught me was to be a lifelong learner, was to be a student. My dad loved to learn. He encouraged us to learn. While, my dad, wanting us to do, really well in school, he wanted us to spend our time, getting better by learning. Okay. And one thing that has always propelled me, and I think it's something that if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably in the same boat, is that learning doesn't stop because you're not going to school anymore. Learning is a continuous thing. Learning allows you to do things better, allows you to do things more efficiently, allows you to get bigger results. And so learning is something that I feel I constantly do as a habit. Now, of course, if you're listening to this podcast, that's great. It probably means that you're kind of in that boat too. But I would encourage you, like if you like the podcast and you like what I have to say and you resonate with the agent investor message, go back. Binge listen to a bunch of the episodes. Find other podcasts that you're interested in. Go to in-person investing events. Grab real estate investing and agent books. Download, buy and download books on Audible and listen to them. Because at the end of the day, knowledge is definitely power. Now, knowledge alone isn't going to get you there. You need to implement, but learning and being a lifelong learner is super important. All right. The third thing that my dad taught me is that delayed gratification is important. Um, Delayed gratification, so my grandfather, he came here from Italy and um, he came here. I think he completed maybe the second or third grade, never went past that, started to work at that age, came to America, um, didn't make a ton of money, but he bought real estate. And even though he didn't make a bunch of money, he also didn't spend a bunch of money. And he was always focused on delaying the gratification. So, one story that my dad used to always tell me that would kind of like always stick with me is that my grandfather, at a certain point, could have just stopped, working. He could have stopped working. He could have managed his rental properties, etc. Um, but then he would have kind of been in the same exact position as he was to start. So he was always doing a little bit extra, always delaying the inevitable gratification that we all seek, right? And again, within all of this, I want to be clear. It doesn't mean that you can't have fun once in a while. It doesn't mean that you can't spend money. It doesn't mean that you can't buy a house or buy a car. But, the more that you can delay gratification, the better. And I'll give you kind of an example of like how it impacted us, in our business. When when we started, doing this stuff in '07, '08, whatever, at first, of course, it was a big struggle, right? In the beginning, you're always fighting just to stay in business. But as we put in more effort, as we worked hard, as we were a student, as we started to delay gratification, we started to have more success. And one thing that we did that really allowed us to grow was as we became more and more profitable, instead of taking a ton of money out of the company that we probably, could have used for buying a better house, buying a better car, around the years 2010, 11, 12, 13, we left a lot of money into the company and invested in the company, invested in getting into coaching programs, invested into hiring VAs and staff, invested into outfitting our office so that we could grow our business. And all of that stuff matters. It matters a lot. And again, it's easy to say delay gratification if you're in the mode of struggling right now, right? If you're just making enough to make ends meet. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as you get to the point where you have some success and you're able to kind of like reinvest it back into your business rather than like going on a vacation. That's the stuff that's going to end up propelling your business. All right. So the fourth thing that my dad taught me was to do what you love. My dad never had expectations of what my career should be. He wanted me to always go after whatever I wanted to go after and work hard doing it. So when I got into college, I started out being pre-med. And the first 3 years of my college experience weren't much of a college experience. They were me um, going to classes, sitting at home studying, doing all my, organic chemistry, doing all of my biology, doing all of my physics homework and my physics studying and my calculus. And pre-med's really, really tough, and it's a long haul. And God bless the people that end up going all the way and becoming, physicians and in the medical field, because it's really tough. And obviously they do really challenging work. But I did all of it. I did all of it to get in. And as I was about to apply to medical school, I started to become super interested in real estate and in business. It was because I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad and books like that that kind of got me thinking a little bit differently. And I remember, after doing all of that, being prepared, being ready to apply to medical school, I very likely would have gotten in, probably would have gotten into a decent medical school. I remember telling my dad that I wanted to switch gears and go into real estate and open my own business. And it's funny because I think that um, a lot of parents and a lot of people in general live by the kind of play it safe mentality. And that is another reason that I see commonly people that are passionate about real estate not have success in real estate. Because even though they very much want to do it, they play it safe. And now, when I told my dad that, I didn't want to go to medical school, I wanted to open my own business, wanted to be in real estate, I was honestly anticipating him telling me to kind of play it safe and to, um, of course, physicians make very good money and it's a very stable job, of course. I don't know too many that get fired or are unemployed at any given point in time. But he encouraged me to do what I loved, and that had a big impact on me. And so if you're in the boat right now where you're thinking, "Hey, I want to be an agent investor. I want to do this." Don't play it completely safe, right? Not that being an agent investor really requires you to have a lot of risk, but go into it. You don't have to go all in on day one, but start to go towards that path. Um, and of course, we teach people how to invest in real estate without it being very risky, without you necessarily having to put up any of your own money. All right, number 5 thing that my dad taught me: believe in yourself, and he did that by believing in me. And my dad had very high expectations of me that I don't even think he knew that he had. Interestingly enough, no matter what I did, he expected me to succeed. Whether it was because he believed in me, whether because he wanted me to succeed, I don't know. Um, but anytime that I ever attempted or partly attempted and didn't have success in something, um, he would always be very surprised because he always felt that I was capable because he always believed in me. So anytime that I ever attempted to do anything and didn't do well in it, I never felt like I couldn't. I felt like it was because I didn't try. And looking back, now that I'm 43 years old now, looking back at that, I believed that I was capable because he believed that I was capable. I don't really necessarily know that it was because I was more capable than anybody else. I'm going to say that again because I think this is very important. Again, I mention all this stuff because I do mentor and coach agents how to invest in real estate. And I see commonly, very commonly, not everybody does this, but it's common that people believe that other people have success because they have something that they don't. And what I have seen more than anything else is that when people put in the time, effort, and energy over an expanded period of time, they tend to win. They tend to win. But what I do see commonly is that People give it a little bit of a go, they give it a little bit of a try, they don't have a ton of success out of the gate, and then they think that the person who had success had some magical formula, had some innate ability, had somebody handing something to them, and I just haven't seen it. Again, what I've seen time and time again with my own stuff and with other people is that the people who put in the work over time win and succeed. But I believe that you need to have that belief in yourself and in the mission, and you have to believe that it's all going to work out. And again, interestingly enough, what I see very commonly is people are very afraid to putting effort without a guaranteed result. It's pro it's up there. It could be the number one thing that I see people failing in real estate. Like people are so afraid of putting in effort and not getting the result that they think that they want, so they don't even put in the effort. Okay? Believe in yourself, believe that it will happen. It is why I highly recommend, you getting into our inner circle program, you getting around us more, you getting around other investors more. It's why they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. Because if you're in a group of people that don't believe that you can achieve, and you start to hear that and you start to believe it yourself, belief or non-belief is contagious. And again, my dad created that belief in me. Again, I don't even think he meant to. I think he actually just believed in me. He thought I could do it. Thought, hey, you failed. You must not have tried. Right. So take that with you. Take that with you. All right. Number 6. Substance, not words, and your reputation matter. So there's a lot of people, especially in real estate, that focus a lot on image and not substance. Image and not substance. A fancy sign, not a great product. A nice website and not a great lead generation system. Okay. So at the end of the day, when we look at who's successful in real estate, who does great things in investing and retail sales, I am not telling you not to have a good image. I do think, you have, you dress well, you have a nice car, um you have a nice website. Those things are good. They're not negatives. Um, but substance is what is going to make you win in the end. Like what's really behind all of it. Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the systems? Um, are you actually trying to help people? And the substance, the quality of your character, and the quality of the product that you deliver and how good you are is what the measuring stick needs to be, because it's what you actually get graded on in the marketplace. Yeah, like, I mean, of course, there are some people here and there that you can fool if you have a nice website or you have a nice car or you have a nice watch, that sometimes people, can believe something that's not true. But more often than not, when we go in, when we meet with sellers, when we generate leads, when we look and say, do we have a predictable business? It's based on the nuts and bolts and the substance of the business. All right, number 7, be generous. So my dad, it was the type of guy to give people the shirt off his back, like literally. Maybe more than anybody that I've ever met. And I'm not just saying that because he was my dad. My dad couldn't have anything nice, because if he had anything nice, he would give it to somebody else. Typically a family member, but he would literally, he's the definition of giving the shirt off his back. And while he wanted, his 3 kids to be successful, um, he also came at it with kind of a message that, like, hey, it's only money. It's more important. Like you're better to be generous than to be a billionaire, right? Um, and that has helped me a lot. in my business because when we really look at the long view of what it takes to be successful as a real estate agent and a real estate investor. Let's talk about the real estate agent thing for one. Being generous is something, it's probably one of the best qualities that you can have when it comes to people liking you, right? Being unselfish, helping others. When you're talking about the long view of being successful in retail sales, um, you need to have a bunch of allies. You need to turn the people that already know. Well, I guess if you back it up to the beginning, right? You come in, you get your real estate license, and that generosity, all of the stuff that you've done for other people in your life, on day one when you get your real estate license, the karmatic effect, if that's even a word, the karma of, hey, I got my real estate license. Now I need help. Now I need clients. Now I need sales is going to pay off. Right. Um, but then, you build more relationships as time goes on in sales. And the impact of that generosity is going to pay off with all of the future people that you've met. But I want to go one more kind of step further with this because as you grow your retail business, you're going to need to grow the contacts that you have, like the people that are in your business. So most real estate agents go from, starting out as a solo agent, then they have a team, then they have a bigger team. And so you're going to need people that are on your side and that are loyal to you. And that means that you're paying people well. You are giving people, like I always say to people, and I try to do this with every business deal that I do. When I make a deal with people, like most people say, hey, make a fair deal, make a 50-50 deal. So a win-win deal, people say. And I truly try to do this, and I know it's because of my dad. I try to give up 51% out of the 100. So I get 49, somebody else gets 51. And that doesn't, it's funny because I don't do it as a business strategy. It's just something that, like, it's in me because my dad taught me that. And what does that turn into for business? Well, it turns into people wanting to work with you. Okay. So most of you know about the agent partnership program. We put up all the money, we do all the construction, we split the profits with agents. Do you know how many people have told me that that is an unfair deal for me? And then it's a better deal for agents. And it's funny because people have said to me, well, you should do a 60-40 split. You take 60, the agent gets 40, or a 65-35, or you should charge a fee. People have said this to me, like without me asking for advice, just that, hey, like this is crazy. And again, going back to my dad's principles of being generous and what it's done for me is that I know that after we launched that program and we were a year in and 2 years in, and now we're like 2.5 years in, I knew it was going to blow up and I knew it was going to be super successful because I knew how generous we were being to the other side. So it's interesting because let's say that, I wasn't generous. Our company wasn't generous. And we said, well, what's fair? Maybe it's a 70-30 split. Maybe it's a 65-35. Now, every time an agent gets a deal, they got to think like, oh, well, maybe I could list the house, or um, maybe I could go to somebody else and get a better deal versus, wow, this is such a good deal. This is such a great opportunity that I need to take advantage of it. And that spreads, right? Every single time that you're generous to somebody, that you help somebody, every single time we do a partner deal and it's $150,000 split and the agent makes 75, how many people do you think they're telling? They're telling 1 million people. But it's the same thing in your retail business. You do something generous, you do something great for somebody, you do something that's a wow factor. Of course, they're going to talk about it. And again, I keep going back to this. Like a lot of most of these things, my dad didn't teach me for business purposes. In fact, probably none of them. Probably none of them. It just is what impacted me. Okay. All right. Number 8, another really important one in the real estate industry today. And again, this wasn't a lesson that he taught me because he wanted me to be in real estate. This is just lessons he taught me from being himself, which is that be happy for other people's success and be fans of people that are successful. There is nothing my dad loved more than me telling him stories about my friends who were doing things that were successful. He loved to hear it. He was the biggest fan of my friends, people that even people that we just knew he was a fan of. He would always talk so highly of people who have achieved. And it was funny. I've been telling this to people since my dad passed. It was like no matter what you did that was good, my dad almost like exaggerated it. Like if you went to like a community college, he bumped that up to like, a regular college. If you went to local to Boston, if you went to a Boston college or like a Northeastern or a school like BU, you went to Harvard in his mind. And that's how he talked about it. If you played, Division 1 basketball, he talked about you like you were in the NBA. And he just was always excited for other people's success. And I see this, oh man, this is a bad one. This is a really bad one. There is nothing worse, and it impacts people. This is the negatively, this is the bad thing. There's nothing worse than people who have jealousy and hatred to other people who have success. And so how it kind of like impacts, besides just you're wasting time hating on other people, is that in a lot of cases, they say it's lonely at the top. And my dad was the type of person who those type of people loved, right? Because he was one of their few supporters, as crazy as it sounds. And so people who have a high level of success in anything, achieve a lot, um, they're useful people typically. They're people you want to get around. They're people you want to get to know. And yeah, there's a couple of bad apples in those groups, but a lot of times they're really good people. A lot of times they've achieved a lot because they're good people and they provide value. And so be happy for other people's success. Try to get around those people. Don't try to, oh, you got to compete with them. Well, yeah, you could have healthy competition, but you don't want to take them down. You want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of that, not a hater. All right, number 9. Simple one. Own real estate. I already told you guys my grandfather came here from Italy. Um, he was a butcher, did not graduate elementary school. And he did pretty well for himself. And he did pretty well for himself because he just bought multifamily real estate and held it. Simple as that. It's not a complicated thing. I think many of us, I'm not going to make this into a podcast about why rental real estate is good. I think we all know that. You wouldn't be listening to the Agent Investor podcast if you didn't know that. But I do think it bears repeating that you should be working towards owning passive real estate. And if you're not, right? If you're just kind of listening to this and you haven't taken action yet, like jump on my next webinar at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com, where I talk about the agent investor model and how anybody can do it, even if you don't have any money. And when I say like do it without having any money, I don't mean like doing all these crazy, weird things like, know if you can pull off doing things that you all, after you jump on that call, you'll be like, shoot, like I could definitely do that. Like that's a very simple thing. Like I've done stuff like that before. So make sure again you jump on that webinar at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. So own real estate, it's a simple one. It's a simple one, but it is an important one. Um, and the last thing is probably what I would say he did best. And it's something that I will never be able to do it as well as he did. And I try, but I won't. which is just to be kind and be nice to people. It is such a simple thing. Um, so simple, but it's hard. Simple but hard. Um, and just really to respect everybody. And we're all. I mean, I live in the greater Boston area. In the greater Boston area, it is common that people are just kind of like they're ready to fight. They're ready to go at each other. They're ready to argue. They're ready to, whatever. And I hate to bring, politics into this because I usually try my best to avoid it. Um, but as we're sitting here on October 1st, 2025, like we have a huge divide, you know, in our country. And of course, regardless of like what you believe, most people just believe that they're right, the other side's wrong, whatever. And my dad wouldn't look at it like that. He would just look at it like I meet somebody, I'd be nice to them. I mean, it's not complicated. It's just very simple. And it doesn't matter like what company you work for, what your political views are, what type of job you had. You treat everybody the same. Treat everybody well. When I say the same, I mean treat everybody well. Treat everybody with respect. And again, it's so much easier said than done, but it was really effortless for him. And he never looked at anybody um according to any status or whatever. He just be nice to every single person. It doesn't matter old, young, somebody that could help you, somebody that couldn't help you, didn't matter. Just be kind, be nice to everybody, treat everybody with respect. And like I said, I've done a pretty good job with all the other things. You taught me that's the hardest one because he did it in a way that I don't know that I'll ever get to the level that he got to, that he was at with that. And when I reflect, back on his life and I reflect back on and then people reach out to me and they talk to me about him and they bring up stories and they talk about the things that he's done for other people. Um, it not only is impressive, how he was and how he did it, but like I said, these 10 lessons have profoundly impacted the way that I have done business forever. And again, I am not perfect at any of this stuff, but if you go through the list of these 10 things that I talked about, they're all mindset things. They're all just things that like they don't really have anything to do with real estate specifically, but yet they do because real estate is all about relationships. It's all about mindset. It's all about working hard. It's all about going after your dream. It's all about building contacts. It's why, again, like I'm certainly not Grant Cardone. I don't have millions of followers, but I think that for the most part, when I do connect with somebody and help them and try to be generous with them and try to be nice to them, it's why I believe that um, the followers that I've had, whether it be in my real estate brokerage, the agent partnerships we've done, employees, etc. Like most people tend to stick around our company. They tend to stick around with what we do because we try to be very good to people as much as we possibly can. And again, that just goes back to me, really, to what my dad impressed upon me. And if it wasn't real estate, it would be something different. Or even if I just had, a a job and I didn't own a business and I worked for somebody else, like all of this stuff would still apply, and it would still be the right thing to do regardless. But I do think that the more that you can implement some of these 10 lessons into what you do as a practical component, and again, a lot of them, they're easier said than done, right? It's easy to be generous, right? Easy to say be generous and be kind and do what you love and delay gratification and work hard and be a student and be happy for other people. It's easy to say that, but it's harder to do. But I do think that if you look at stuff and you look at it like over a long horizon, right? Um, it is going to eventually get you to the point where you want to be over the long haul. And I think that if you're listening to this podcast, you likely have a long-term vision, long-term goals, and that's what we try to help people do. So, again, obviously, thank you for everybody who has reached out to me about my dad. He passed too soon, but I was very, very, very lucky to have him. Lucky to have a father that taught me, a ton, that did a lot for my family. Um, and all of these lessons are stuff that we put into what we do. I put into what I do unconsciously. So, to wrap, guys, I know that this wasn't a strategy or a tactical session, and we'll be back to that type of stuff next week. But you want to learn the tactical stuff. You want to learn how to be an agent investor. You want to learn how to follow the agent investor model. Just make sure get off of this podcast and just go straight to www.partnerwithagенtinvestor.com, and we'll show you how to do it right then and there. So thank you guys for listening. And we'll be back, of course, next week. I will be back moving forward. I am back. I am ready to record, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. So thank you.